What's up, droners? B here, and I want to talk to you guys about the Department of the Interior being petty about drones. Seriously, this is some real stuff, so let's jump in. All right, so first, let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's talk back to, I think, 2017, when it was discovered by the US government that the Chinese government, the Chinese government who funds DJI was getting data from DJI from drones flown in America. And not just any drones. We're talking about the drones that were flying for the government, because the US Army was using these drones, and it became a really big deal to the point where they grounded all of the DJI drones across all government agencies for the most part. The only people who didn't have to do that was people working with the Department of the Interior that were working on non-sensitive things, and it made up about 20% of their fleet. So for context, in 2018, the Department of the Interior did over 10,000 flights. Now, the flights that they're doing are really important because the Department of the Interior has over 500 million acres that they are responsible for. And that is a lot of land to keep track of. And so they're using these drones to be able to help them do this kind of stuff when it comes to surveying different areas like farmland or anything like that, or even like dealing with volcanic stuff like in Hawaii. Helped a lot with the evacuation using the drones for that. In 2018 alone, the DOI estimates that drones saved $14.8 million in aeronautical or pretty much flights that they would otherwise be using helicopters for by using drones. A big deal. And the DOI also estimates that they saved another $50 million by detecting wildfires early with drones. And that's a really big deal because they're targeting drones for the foreign manufacturing, but you gotta think about it. All these employees are also using cell phones, laptops, and all the other kind of technology that has foreign components in it. So why just drones? And even as recently as 2018, some people from the Department of the Interior died in helicopter crashes for things that could have been completed by drones. So obviously, we have a couple things going on here that could be like, hey, should the Department of the Interior be using drones, or should they be not using them because of safety concerns? Now, what happened is DJI, after they got excommunicated from all the government stuff, said, okay, guys, we're cool, we can do this. What do you need us to do? We'll figure this out. Y'all buy way too many drones for us not to make you drones. And they said, okay, do A, B, and C. And DJI was like, say no more, fam. Welcome to the DJI Matrice and DJI Mavic GE edition. That is for the government entities. And those drones were tested on a third-party facility. And they were tested to see, is there any kind of security concerns? Are there any things we should be worried about? And that third party said, nah, good to go, fly. Now at this point, this is the point where you're supposed to be, as a government official, somebody who says, okay, the drones work, they did what we wanted. We said we would buy them if they did that, and we would all be cool. That's what you would think, right? But no, that is not what the US government did. The US government instead decided to put a pause on all drone operations after they received that report. And it's like, all right, well, there's a pause. They're just gonna do further review, because obviously DJI did all the things they said they would do, so hopefully the US government will do the same. No. Months later, that was not the case. So on January 29th, 2020, the Secretary of the Department of the Interior signed a motion saying that all drone flights will be grounded. That is 400 plus jobs of people who work on these drones to be able to do their jobs. I don't know if they lost them or not, but they ain't flying drones anymore unless it's an emergency situation, which doesn't even make sense. Like, how are you gonna even say that they can use them for emergencies, but they can't use them to be able to do everything else that they've been using them for? And like I said before, these drones are preventing from putting Americans in harm's way. For me, this is a very interesting decision because DJI did everything they said they would do. The US government said they'd buy them after that. So what justification could they possibly be doing? Petty. Petty is the justification. This is the pettiest reason of all time. The reason is that the US government wants us to be able to make our own small drones. That's it. They said, we believe the US security is more important in the long term for the US to be able to have our own private sector, be able to make our own drones that are all US components, that are not using any kind of components from any other drones anywhere else, because they need to be US made, even though the US does not have companies that are viable or big enough to be able to do that right now, to be able to stop putting American lives in harm's way to do the jobs that the Department of the Interior was already doing. Now, I could definitely see that there could be a way to phase it out, where it's just like, hey, like we want to still continue using this, but at the same time reinvest into domestic drone creation. But that's not what this did, and this also didn't do any kind of investment into American drone manufacturing, like the Chinese government does. The Chinese government definitely funds DJI. That's how they've been able to advance the technology so quickly. The U.S. government doesn't make those types of investments, and because of that, we don't have drones as advanced as the Chinese do, at least commercially available. So here we are, without being able to use the drones, putting our people in harm's way just so we can be petty. Droners, thank you so much for listening to this news-based drone thing that you probably should know. And if you want to know more, it's right here, because that's what we got. Or if you want to see the greatest intro video to a drone channel that has ever existed, yeah, we got it. As always, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you know when we're dropping that hot fire, and make sure you stay fly.